Have you ever wondered to yourself, what is the best Yu-Gi-Oh cards to ever exist? Well, think no longer, for this is the list for you. G'day guys, Little Leaf here, and this list will be of cards that have had a massive impact on the game of Yu-Gi-Oh and stood out. The guidelines for what makes a card the best is its playability, the option to play it quite easily, its consistency, ability to consistently abuse this card, and its impact on the game and on the meta in which it had found itself in. In number 10, we have Nibiru the Primal Being, a card that is still in the meta to this day and still having a great impact on the game and the meta. Nibiru finds itself in such a good position because of its effect, which is a quick effect. When your opponent normals or specials more than 5 cards in a turn, you are able to tribute every face-up monster on the field, and in doing so, you get to special summon Nibiru the Primal Being and a token to your opponent's side of the field with attack and defense equal to all monsters tributed by this effect. This is such a powerful effect as it counts as a tribute instead of destroying, which allows the Nibiru to bypass a lot of monsters that have protection effects that say they can't be destroyed by a card effect. Additionally, this card can only really be stopped by an Omni Negate or a Monster Negate that can stop a card's activation or effect. Now, that is enough reason to allow Nibiru to be in the top 10, as well as being a card that is iconically made players start counting their summons and ensure that they're doing something to prevent getting Nibiru'd within the first 5 summons of their turn. And for the number 9 spot, we have Divine Arsenal, AA Zeus, Sky Thunder, the XYZ monster that defined what XYZs can do. What makes Zeus so powerful is its ability to be able to overlay over monsters that had previously attacked in the battle phase, as long as they are an XYZ monster. By doing this, you now gain the ability, after main phase 2, to have the quick effect that you can detach 2 materials from this card, send all other cards from the field to the graveyard. This is such a powerful effect due to its ability to overlay cards that have almost 3 material, making it the 4th material, and then having Zeus be able to use its quick effect twice to wipe the board twice for your opponent. Additionally, its stats are 3000 attack and 3000 defense, making it a very powerful card that can end games with just its summon. Being able to wipe boards has always been a popular effect, and Zeus is no different, making it the number 9 spot for sure. Number 8 spot on the most powerful Yu-Gi-Oh cards to exist is Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. This card has defined metas and made hand traps so popular that it is the definition of hand traps. This card has the ability to discard itself when your opponent activates a card effect that includes any of these effects, which include add a card from the deck to the hand, special summon from the deck, or send a card from the deck to the graveyard. Yu-Gi-Oh has become quite a fast-paced game, and adding, sending, or specialing from the deck is very much immersed archetypes. What makes this card even better is that it's a level 3 tuner that gives it easy access to a lot of synchros when the time is needed. It is also a zombie, all adding to why this card is so special. Finally, the reason why Ash takes this spot is its iconicness in the game and its ability to be able to stop cards in its tracks, such as current popular cards like Branded Fusion, or any card that decides to try and take something from the deck. Ash is always a good card to find, and it is always a good card in the right meta. As you are probably thinking by now, a lot of the cards on the list are cards that exist today and still can be used, and this card is no different, but trust me, this list will amp up very quickly. I didn't want to just splash in a bunch of banned cards that people know are broken due to their ban, but actual cards that are used still to this day and still have a lot of relevance in the way that they're played. So the next card on this list goes to Super Polymerization. This card is a quick play that allows you to fusion by using your field or your opponent's field to summon an extra deck monster. Now, the cost for this card is to discard 1 card, but the main broken part of this is that your opponent and you cannot activate cards or effects in response to the activation of Super Polymerization. Now, that is one of the main reasons why this card is as broken as it is. If it could just fusion by looking at the field and choosing what it wanted, your opponent could definitely have the opportunity to activate cards to remove their cards and possibly stop what your fusion was planned to be. But by not letting anyone activate anything, it just takes what it wants from the field and acts similar to Nibiru, except it cannot be stopped by any type of Omni Negate. And there are a lot of options in the extra deck to fusion using this card. Cards that use two elements that are the same, cards that use different attributes and types, they all allow this card to have relevance depending on the fusion deck you're using. And in some cases, even use it when you're not using a fusion deck. And that's why Super Poly takes such a high spot on this list. The next card on this list is a banned card, and it is banned for a very good reason. This card is Nightmare Mermaid. Nightmare Mermaid is a Link 1 Water Fiend with the effect that when it is Link summoned, it can discard one card to special summon one Nightmare monster from your deck. Then, if this card was co-linked, it allows you to draw a card. Additionally, cards lose 1000 attack and defense unless they are co-linked. Now, the reason why this card is banned is more for the fact that back when Nightmares were in full power and Links had first arrived into the meta, there was something called link locking your opponent. This allowed you to co-link all the way to your opponent's extra deck spot, where if you were co-linked and made a U, you were able to link in that spot as well. And if you did do this, your opponent now had no extra deck spot to special summon monsters such as XYZs, Synchros, or even Fusions back in that time. Now, the meta has changed and the game shifted that ruling, and now you are allowed to summon a lot of cards, and only links have to be summoned into that spot. But at the time, you locking someone was very common, and Nightmare Mermaid was what made that happen. It allowed you to start combos and allowed you to build that U, locking your opponent out before turn 1 had even started. And that is why Nightmare Mermaid is number 6 on this list. Number 5, for the most broken Yu-Gi-Oh cards in the game, goes to Vanity's Emptiness. Vanity's Emptiness is a continual trap card with the effect that neither player can special summon monsters, and then you destroy this card when a card is sent from the deck or field to your graveyard. Now, this card is broken for many reasons. Being able to lock your opponent out of special summoning cards is quite the powerful effect. It allows you to set up your own board, create what you like, set this card, and when your opponent begins, you lock them instantly out of special summoning. Now, it is simple to get rid of, and there are a lot of cards that can stop it, but it's the fact that if you don't run main deck spell or trap cards that can stop this, most of your options are already taken out by not being able to special summon. Additionally, the cards that are summoned to go with it could usually lock your opponent into never being able to destroy Vanity's Emptiness. This card has always been a strong card, but was only realized in certain metas that it was actually as good as it was. And when this did happen, Konami hit the ban hammer and got rid of one of the most powerful traps to ever exist in Yu-Gi-Oh's history. The next card on this list will come as no surprise to most players of both the TCG, OCG, and also Duel Masters, and this card is Maxi. Maxi is a level 2 insect with 500 attack and 200 defense, but this is not what makes the card so special. The card is special for its effect where during either player's turn, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard. This turn, each time your opponent special summons a card, you immediately draw one card. You can only activate one Maxi per turn. This card allows you to be able to draw as many times as your opponent is specialing, which either makes your opponent commit to their play, specialing, and giving you draws, or creates such an advantage for you that you have drawn into so many cards where you may have drawn into cards such as Ash Blossom, Nibiru, or other cards that have even been seen on this list, allowing it to excel in what it does best, stopping your opponent from playing the game. Now, this card is only banned in the TCG, but in the metas that it is in, it is a staple, and for very, very good reason. And that is why Maxi takes a number 4 spot on this list. The next card on this list is Pot of Greed, which probably comes as no surprise to most Yu-Gi-Oh players. It is a card that has been famous in both the anime and the actual card game, and its effect reads as draw 2 cards. Now, some people are probably wondering why this card didn't hit number 1 or number 2, but having a 1 card advantage of just activating a card is quite powerful. But it isn't as powerful as some of the cards that are about to come, and you'll see why. But Pot of Greed definitely has relevance due to the card advantage it creates by just existing. And that's why this card will probably never be unbanned unless the game shifts in such a way that allows a one card advantage to mean nothing. The number 2 card on this list will come as no surprise to players that have ever versed this card. And that card is one of the first boss monsters to ever be as oppressive as it was, and that card is number 16, Shockmaster. Number 16, Shockmaster, is a light, rank 4 XYZ with 2300 attack and 1600 defense. It is a fairy, but that's not where the importance of this card lies. Again, like most cards on this list, it's its effect that makes it as impressive as it is. Shockmaster has the effect that once per turn, you can detach one XYZ material from this card, which it requires 3 level 4 monsters, so you have plenty of material. Then you declare one card type, monster, spell, or trap. That type of card, if spell or trap, cannot be activated, or if monster, cannot activate its effects. And this lasts until the end of your opponent's next turn. Now, the reason why this card is so impressive is the fact no matter what your opponent wants to do, if you had activated Shockmaster, they cannot use monsters, spell, or trap depending on what you declared. And most likely, by game 2, you would know what your opponent's using and which is the best to declare. Once this is done, your opponent can only sit and watch you continue to oppress them until you have won the game. Now, the downside that it may have is that it can't stop trigger effects and it can't stop ongoing effects. But by being able to stop activated effects, it essentially locks down nearly every card in the game. And that's why Shockmaster takes the number 2 spot quite gracefully and quite realistically. Before I get into the number 1 spot here, I just wanted to recognize some of the cards that probably should have made this list and were replaced with cards that were currently in the meta, and cards that, in some sense, deserve a mention as a very powerful card in Yu Gi Oh! This includes Magical Scientists, Gardragon, Argpane, as well as Painful Choice, Royal Oppression, Sixth Sense, and Cold Wave. There are a lot more cards that could have been added, but I thought I would mention some of the strong ones that could have made this list, but were chosen with cards such as Ash Blossom and Nibiru to ensure this list had a bit of diversity in what was banned and what was current. The number 1 card, which currently is unbanned but only due to the fact that it got an errata, is Chaos Emperor Dragon, Envoy of the End. Chaos Emperor Dragon is a dragon effect monster with 3000 attack and 2500 defense. Chaos Emperor Dragon had gone through many different iterations, but I'll be reading from the original text, which essentially is the same that some of the erratas had, but they just cleaned up the text. This card can only be special summoned by removing 1 light and 1 dark monster in your graveyard from play. Pay 1000 points of life to send all cards in both players' hands and field to the graveyard. Inflict 300 points of damage to your opponent for each card that is sent to the graveyard by this effect. Now, this card makes a lot of sense to why it was banned, and that would be because of its summoning condition being so easy. Additionally, being able to send every card to the graveyard from both hand and field is such a broken effect that no card currently in the meta can do such a thing still. Mainly, if it was around today, it would be able to float itself while also having a bunch of floaters where your opponent would be stuck with everything in the graveyard and you'd be able to continue making plays after removing everything. Additionally, it deals 1500 points of life before the game has even started and had just cleared your whole opponent's hand. That makes this card one of the most powerful cards to ever exist, and still would see relevance today if it was not errated. And that makes it one of the best cards in Yu-Gi-Oh's history, and only being weakened by its errata, making it so you cannot activate card or effects during the turn you activate this card's effect, making any other floaters irrelevant to it, and essentially just wipes both boards for both players, starting fresh with your opponent drawing 1 card, which is not necessarily ideal in today's meta. With that, this is the top 10 most powerful Yu-Gi-Oh cards to ever exist. I hope you like my list, and if you think anything could have been changed, please let me know down in the comments below. Otherwise, please like this video and subscribe for more content on Yu-Gi-Oh! And thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful g'day.